crafty friends, it's Jodine here from the scrapbook store, and I'm going to be sharing a quick little card tutorial with you today using the PinkFresh Studio Humbled and Grateful stamp set. I'm just going to start by stamping my images in black VersaFine ink pad, and before I do that, because it is a new stamp set, I will just run my powder tool over the top of it to remove that sticky residue, and that ensures that you do get a really crisp image first time using a stamp. I always do this whenever I get a new stamp set, and I find it really does help. And because I'm going to be needing two of these images today, I'll just flick that card around and stamp one on the other end as well. And you do want to make sure that that ink is dry before you start ink blending over it, just so that you don't get any smudging of the ink. But once it is dry, it will also be waterproof as well, so if you do want to add some watercolours to your image, you could also do that. I'm going to be using my PinkFresh Studio inks today. Of course, you could use any inks that you have. Distress inks would also work really well. And there are just two stencils to go with this stamp set. So it's a really quick and easy way to colour the images. But that doesn't mean you can't still add some shading. What I've done is gone in with my lighter shade first, and then come back with a darker shade and an even smaller blending brush to add a little bit of shading to each leaf, just to give some variation, which adds a really nice touch and a bit more dimension to your image as well. I'm actually using the PinkFresh Studio small blending brushes, and the super tiny ones are great for detail as well. And because I wanted to do the flowers in multicolours, I've used 2 shades of pink and 2 shades of orange. And these small brushes allow me to colour flowers that are next to each other but in different colours without worrying about accidentally over blending and putting colours in the wrong place. But of course you could still get this same effect if you have larger blending brushes. Just simply use some tape or a little bit of paper over the images that you don't want to accidentally colour, and do it that way, and just use your regular blending brushes. You will achieve the same look by doing this. And then what I'll do is just flip this around and colour the other image exactly the same way. And then I'll use the coordinating die cuts to cut both of those out. And I'll also cut out a couple of extras so that I can layer those up. So I'll just cut them out of white scrap card, and I'll use my art glitter glue. I keep that in a fine tip bottle. It's much easier for jobs like this, and I'll just layer those together. You could of course do it with double-sided tape, but you would have to cut up a lot of tiny little bits. So laying your die cuts like this is a lot more effective. And for my panel that I'm going to place behind the flowers, I have used the wood grain embossing folder just to add a bit of texture, and I've cut that down with a stitch die, and that will be the base that I'm going to attach my flowers onto. And I'm just going to place my first group of flowers over to the right a little, to leave me space for my second set, and I'm just going to cut some little bits off that so that I can make sure I really fill all that space along the bottom with the extra little flowers. I'm just going to leave a little bit of white space at the top right there, because that's probably where I'll end up putting my sentiment. And I'll just give these a couple of minutes to dry once I've glued them all down while I create my sentiment. And I will just trim off those stems hanging off at the bottom there, but I'll leave the little ones that are poking off the top and off to the left, just so that they will overhang a mat that I'm going to put behind there. You can put something heavy on this if you like, just to leave it to dry, but I find just adding a bit of pressure and putting it aside for a minute is fine. I'll create my sentiment using one of the stamp sets from the Humbled and Grateful bundle, and I'm going to stamp that onto some black cardstock. This is the Nina black cardstock, and I'll use my powder tool first, of course, and then use my Versamark ink to stamp that sentiment, which says "Enjoy your special day." There's a few really great sentiments in this set, but I thought this one could apply for a wedding or a birthday, or other occasions, I'm sure. And I'm going to use my Ranger white super fine embossing powder for this one. I'll heat set that with my heat tool before I die cut it with the coordinating dies. I love that this set even has coordinating dies for the sentiments, because it gives you a lot more options as well. And I'll just run that through my die cut machine quickly. And what I've done here is cut some extra black ones like I did before so that I can layer them under the sentiment for dimension. But I'll glue 2 together first and then glue 1 to the back of the sentiment. And what I want to do is have that sitting evenly over my flowers, and of course the background is lower than my flowers now, so what I'll do is work out where I want it, then I'll take that second lot and cut that in half, so the right side of my sentiment will sit level with the left side once you stick it down. And that's a great little trick if you're laying your sentiment over an image that may already have a bit of dimension and you want it to sit evenly. And I've cut a black mat slightly larger than my white panel there, and I'm going to layer that up. I think having that black mat underneath just really makes the images pop a little bit more rather than just laying it onto a white background. I'm just going to use some double-sided tape to stick those 2 panels together. And of course, before I do that, I will trim off those overhanging stems there and just tidy that up before I do put that down. And I do want to add a bit of dimension to my panels. So I could have used the foam tape here behind this panel on the black, but instead I think I will put my foam tape behind the black panel to attach it to a white A2 top folding note card. And I'm going to attach that just using some 3M foam tape. And of course you could use foam dots for this, it doesn't really matter. Or if you're posting it and you want it flatter, then you can just attach that straight to the card without any extra dimension on it. And to finish my card, I'm going to add some little details with some Nouveau shimmer pen. And that's just going to add a little bit of sparkle to my flowers. And then I'll also just take a white gel pen and put a few little details onto the leaves as well. I find this helps to just add a little bit more interest to your stamped images and finishes the card off nicely. Normally I would like to add sequins and things like that, but I find that this is quite busy with all those little flowers, so these small touches are enough for this card without having to add too many more little details to it. And that will complete our card for today. So I hope you enjoyed the little tutorial. Please be sure to check out the other ones we have on our YouTube channel. And we'll see you next time. Have a great day.